media.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. I've stated my position multiple times when it comes to the ongoing protests and conflict in Canada in regards to Israel-Palestine. I have said multiple times, people want to ask my opinion of where I stand with Canada. I believe that Canada should come first. I believe that we need to focus on our problems. We need to get this wacko dictator out of office and essentially get our finances in our house in order before we can even focus attention on other countries or what's happening. Now, that's not to punch down on or discredit what's happening across seas in countries like the Ukraine, where vast money laundering is going on, or places like the Gaza Strip, where there's an outgoing forever war going on in the country. But one thing that's happened in Canada now is that protesters have been given, well, different treatment when it comes to how the government views them as protesters. Of course, if you remember back to the Freedom Convoy, we've had trucks smashed in, we had citizens attacked on and trampled with horses, we had reporters hit with tear gas and beaten with batons simply for standing up for our Charter of Rights, which, by the way, the judge in Tamara Leach and Chris Barber's case has said is not absolute. That being said, the Canadian government, because they don't want to come across as racist or misogynistic, and they promote their usual trigger words of diversity, equity, inclusion, don't want to step down on what's going on when it comes to protests of Israel or Palestine, and they just allow it to flow into the streets. We've seen various protests weekend after weekend in cities like Ottawa and Toronto getting out of hand. We've seen footage from universities where students are now protesting on the lawns, getting their tent encampments up, and they're saying students with a very flexible tone, as we're about to see. There really isn't a lot of students moving along on these grounds. It's, in fact, bad actors and paid actors being there to push a message. They want to destroy this country. They want Canada to essentially crumble. And we're about to see this in video footage. And before that, I'm going to let you know there is a solution on the way. We're starting to see a little bit of pushback. We're starting to see some reinforcements come into play. I want to show this video of David Menzies. I do have this in another video coming up over the weekend talking about more of the severity of what's going on here. But I want to show what's going on with David Menzies here at the University of Toronto, where they've now called it Little Gaza. You'll see some very racial remarks coming out of a very vocal individual. And then we're going to get to a little bit of hypocrisy and evidence of these bad actors. Let's get started.
Who are these people indeed? I see a lot of people, they don't look like they've been in school for decades. I mean, are these really University of Toronto students?
And you're letting them? You're letting them? Look at this. Oh, there we go. That's charming. We don't tolerate that in the classroom. We agree with freedom of speech, but we debate things in a reasoned way.
So why are you there?
Because we are Indigenous women.
Do you have your card?
Who are you to ask anybody for a card? Take your opinions and shove it up your white ass.
Yeah, those are the responses of people that we should really take seriously, isn't it? This is entitled Gen X youth that know nothing about real work getting their hands dirty or how society actually works. Again, I'm going to get into that in my weekend video, but essentially what we see here are people, white people for the most part, blocking off a university campus, not allowing a professor that you saw in the preview there to walk through to get to his class. He's not able to go teach. Again, he has said we should be debating this in class. That's how debates are done. There should be discourse. There should be exchanges of proper conversation between people if you ever want to come to a solution. The problem with protesters today, and when they call it protesting in this fashion, is that it's all about the loudest people are right. It doesn't matter about facts anymore. Just if I scream louder than you, it means that my beliefs are to be taken seriously. It's just a bunch of children whining. But let's get into what happens to this man as he tries to enter the campus.
Do you know how many people are students that are in the encampment?
Is it private property? What
Do not yell in
can
your
you
face.
yell?
Step back,
Move
girl.
away.
Back up.
Move away.
Back up.
Move
Back
away.
up.
Move away. Don't
Back
tell me
up.
to back up.
This private
Don't tell me to back up.
You
I'm
know
a
what?
professor.
No, you're on indigenous property.
I don't care. I'm not causing any problem.
You're on indigenous property, and we give them permission to be
We're on
here.
what?
So.
On indigenous
property.
Let me
Everywhere you
see
go
your-
is indigenous land.
Okay, so
Everywhere
you're on
you go
it.
is
So just a
indigenous
second,
land,
you're on it
and
too.
you have not
Get out of the
addressed-
way. Are you touching me?
You just
Are
touched
touching
me.
So again, these are the tactics of these younger generation. Oh, you just touched me. Oh, we're on indigenous land. We've been given permission to be here. I hate to break it to these people or anybody who wants to squabble about this. We pay billions every year to Indigenous, and while there are gripes that I have with the treatment of Indigenous when it comes to clean drinking water, safe, available supply, and I'm not talking about illicit narcotics. I'm talking about basically giving them the resources they need. Canada has been more than neglectful. However, Canada is still a country, and you're talking about something that happened hundreds of years ago. We've moved past that. The whole shame, the whole white shame, white guilt, oh, you're all colonizers. I hate to break it to anybody who wants to talk to regular Canadians and say that we should feel guilt for the mistakes or the sins of the fathers. I hate to break it to them, but the British and the French are the ones who overtook Canada from the Indigenous hundreds of years ago. Again, we have made reparations. We still make reparations. I do think, again, getting the politics out of it, I think there's more we can do. But this claim and this nonsense, oh, it's Indigenous, get out of you need to get out of here. This is insane. Let's continue.
I did.
You just touched
I
me.
touched you. Okay. Now move away. Move away. I'm not exactly. Don't engage. We're not worth your time. I walk here every day
You're
for
not
40
worth my
years.
time.
Right. Okay.
So
So
move
you're on
along.
indigenous land. Good.
Yes.
So what are you doing here? What are you doing here? I want to walk on university property. With your this is not university
You
land.
don't know my background.
Public land. What are you going to?
I'm indigenous too, you fucking dumbass.
Your family here. A couple of
Yes. Yes.
Now you can hear the one individual asking the special constable here, are you going to, like he starts to ask, are you going to do anything? And it's not because the cop doesn't care. This is, again, the actions of police in Toronto. They'd rather virtue signal and stay out of these kind of affairs because they don't want to be labeled as racist, right? So they just stand back, allowing a professor to be told he can't go to his job because I'm assuming a lot of it has to do with the hat that he's wearing. I'll say his yarmulke. Completely disrespectful. The man has a right to move within the country. Absolute hypocrisy.
Lake of the Woods First Nation.
Okay,
man,
I'd like to.
bitch.
I'd like to
Yes.
Make it up as you go
No,
along.
I
Private
don't.
property.
Oh yeah, right.
Go back
They're
to your
on.
country.
They're the people guarding this? Are you kidding me?
Don't touch
I've
me,
walked
please.
across this thing for
Do not
40
touch
years.
me.
The university has handed over
And as an
their
indigenous
property
person, I
to
have right
these
to defend my
guys,
land.
who I have no idea who they are. I don't even know if they're students, right? And they're in charge. They're in charge of letting people in, letting people out. Exactly. So let us in. Don't give them out, right?
No.
If you'd like to engage in a debate, we can do that in a classroom. We'll see who wins. But in any event, we'll see who has some knowledge of history besides TikTok, which I'm sure many of you get your information from.
Now, this professor has a very good point. And as you see, again, the constant virtue signaling of people wearing these, I'm going to call it a hijab. I don't know the proper term for these Palestinian scarves, I'm going to call them, that people are wearing all over the place. We've seen quacks like Janice Irwin in Alberta legislature wearing one to try and virtue signal. This should be insulting to anybody from Palestine, anybody from the Middle East. This should be very insulting to their demographic because you're essentially claiming something that's a religious belief of another. This is like me walking, like I'm not a Jewish person. This is like me walking around with a yarmulke and, chanting Jewish tomes. This is offensive. This is highly offensive. This is no different to me, again, and this is my opinion, but this is no different to me than Justin Trudeau wearing blackface. It's insulting. And these basement-dwelling children who want to pretend like they know everything about reality don't even know anything about Sharia law. They don't know anything about the people that they're supporting, and again, I'm keeping the politics out of this, that they don't understand that half the things they protest when they talk about queers for Palestine and things like that, they're essentially peddling something that Sharia law would terminate instantly in their country. They don't want any of that stuff. They don't want any of this stuff. They just want to get loud. Now, this is the University of Toronto protest, but what's happened today in Calgary? The Calgary police, my town. Let me tell you something. They don't mess around. They do the old mess around and find out. As Mocha coming out here, breaking dramatic scenes from the University of Calgary as police begin to dismantle the anti-Israel encampment on day one. Of course, you've got media Bezirgan. Go and follow Mocha. He's fantastic. He's got a lot of good stuff. You can see both of his accounts up here to the right. Make sure you go and drop Mocha a follow. Let's take a look at what Calgary police have to say about this kind of behavior on Indigenous ground. Now, sorry to interject again, folks. Keep your eyes on the people protesting. Do any of these people look like... Now, I understand people can go to university at any age, but do these people really look like legitimate students? Keep your eyes on it. Paid actors.
There's no riot here! Why the unfairness?
Please leave. Look at this piece of work using their child as a prop to try and push the police back. Give me a break. This lady should go to jail immediately. This child should be in foster care. You don't do this. You don't do this to kids. Come on. That is insane. Again, you see that mother with the child who's got her phone out. She's obviously streaming the whole thing. This is the problem with social media these days. And I know it's a little hypocrisy because I sit here on social media making these videos. However, I don't typically bring my children in unless, of course, they walk into the room and it's by pure happenstance, and it's very far and few. I certainly don't subject my children to politics. I don't subject my children to protests, especially where it looks like in that situation, things could get easily violent. Yeah, perfect place to take your kids. Again, that lady should be locked up. I'm hoping the police did something. The fact, again, that these wackos are yelling, leave to the cops and throwing things at them, this is the complete opposite of what we saw during the Freedom Convoy. Those who protested in the trucker convoy gave no pushback to the police. They gave no violence. They had no issues moving along. I mean, they had bouncy castles and barbecues. And while many people could say, well, Derek, that's very similar to what we're seeing here, these guys have nothing but tents. You're essentially talking about people that, again, are bad actors that are there not to protest for the benefit of anything. They're there to cause trouble. They're there to incite violence. And that is essentially where I'm happy to see Calgary police stepping in. I'm happy to see other provinces are starting to voice their disdain for what's going on. And these protests, ladies and gentlemen, I was always told there's three things you can never win an argument in, and that's religion, politics, and everything else. Now, when it comes to religion, as soon as you start putting Palestine in there and start talking about the extensions of their religion and how things are being oppressed, this is only going to infuriate and anger more and more people. It's only going to continue to grow, and the government at some point is going to have to step in sooner rather than later if they don't want things to get completely out of control. Now, again, I would encourage you guys to watch my video covering that Rebel News video, as well as some reactions from other people in government as to what needs to be done later this weekend. I just wanted to cover what's happening in Calgary because this is breaking. I think it's amazing. I think it's great that Calgary essentially is showing that there isn't bipartisanship when it comes to protests. If a protest, gets out of control, we're going to shut it down. Plain and simple. I really detest the fact that in places like Ottawa, you can see these protests inciting violence, inciting hatred, inciting mass aggression moving forward, while protests like the Freedom Convoy were driven out of the city by riot police. Bank accounts were frozen. We all know how that turned out. People are still facing trial for their involvement in that protest. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you guys think that these protests need to come to an end? Do you think things are getting out of control? Do you agree with the protests? Do you disagree with the police getting involved? Let me know your opinions down below if it's your first time here. I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure as you're hitting that button, you hit the bell for notifications as well, and join us live here on the channel tonight and every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central for Friday Night Fringe, where we talk about things like this and we do a little back and forth within our community. I hope you guys had a great rest of your day, or have a great rest of your day, I should say, and enjoyed this video. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.